Hi, this is Daisy Glassburn, Chair of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. Today is November 7th. It is now 9 a.m. This is a public meeting of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. We will now call the meeting to order and begin with having the Division Director perform a roll call.
Daisy Glassburn,
Here.
Rob Stylo,
Sorry, muted here.
Brent Goff,
Here.
Clint Taylor,
Here.
and Darius Wise.
Good morning.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes from July 18th, 2024?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll
This is
second
Rob
that.
Stylo. I'll second it. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of July 18th, 2024 of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. We'll now take a vote. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes. Next on the agenda are other matters. Does anyone on the board or commission have any other matters to discuss? Alrighty, we'll move to policy matters.
So board members, we just have your 2025 meeting calendar. You don't have to vote on this. This is just so that you can block off your schedule for the upcoming year for our meetings. And then the next item is agenda items for the next Berea meeting. Does anybody have any items that you would like to have added to the January agenda? Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. We'll move to citizen participation period. Any person may bring their concerns about matters not on the agenda before the board. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to 2 minutes. Is there anyone who has signed up to speak or anyone who wishes to speak at this time? And please state your name and who you represent.
Board members, we do have one hand that has been raised. Ms. Boyd, I have unmuted you, so you can, or allowed you to unmute yourself. So please introduce yourself and speak with the board.
Hi, thank you guys so much for listening to me today. Oh, let me turn on my, can I turn on my video?
I don't believe that you actually can.
Okay.
Just audio. I apologize about that.
Not a problem. It's just easy to see face to face. Hello, my name is Libby Boyd, and a little brief history. I have a master's degree in research. I've been licensed realtor since 2009. I have my GRI. I'm a managing broker. I'm actually a life coach, and I started a training program for real estate agents to learn the business. And all that to say, I have decided to transition and stay in the business of real estate, but move to be an appraiser, hence my meeting with you today. In doing so, I have just completed my 168 hours of appraisal courses. And now, as you can probably guess, I am looking at getting my 1,000 hours. My first question, I have a bunch of follow-up. I'm trying to honor your time, but my first question is there any exception to the 1,000 hours required to become a licensed appraiser?
So you're talking, I believe you're talking about the experience hours.
Correct.
Okay, so practical applications in real estate appraisal is an option if you cannot find somebody to train you. And that is an offering that I believe you can find through the Appraisal Institute.
I am part of the Appraisal Institute. There's PAREA. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep, Berea, yep.
Right. So that's great. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's 4 to 5 month waiting list, and I'm physically located in Winter Park, Colorado. There's a huge need for appraisers up here, which is why I went into the business. So if I get somebody I'm paired with in 4 to 5 months, I would presume the person would be anywhere in Colorado, but most likely in Denver. In pairing with someone in Denver, it would be 2 hours every time to go tour a property. My question is, if I get paired with someone, would my travel hours go towards my 1,000 hours?
No, that doesn't count towards your experience. Commuting time does not count.
Okay, so really, if it's a what I've researched is about 5 hours for a very non-complex residential property. In doing so, I would then have 4 hours of travel time. So it's essentially 1,800 hours I would be spending to gather these hours. Is is my math correct? And that's in
So-
4 to 5 months if I get paired with someone. That's what they're telling me the wait list is.
That would probably be a good question to ask the board. I don't know how much time is spent on the average residential appraisal.
Well, I mean, that's my research. I can figure that out, but that's just what I'm looking at. I do have some other solutions, and I did try to talk to Dora about this, and so that's why I'm bringing it to the board because they didn't have an answer. So, obviously, before and even after my education, I have reached out to every single appraiser I can find in the area. Nobody wants to take me on, which makes sense because it's more time for them. They give away some of their money, and I become their competition. So my question is twofold. Can I do non-complex appraisals for, let's say, listing agents in my area? Would that qualify towards my hours?
Well, you need a supervisor, you need a licensed, a credentialed appraiser to do that with.
Okay, so
Otherwise, you would be basically engaging in unlicensed practice.
I need someone to supervise it because what I was reading, it was if it's under 1 million non-complex that I could do those appraisals. That's not correct?
Not unless you have a credential.
Okay, so the same would be said if I had a buyer who was doing cash. They could not hire me to do an appraisal report.
No, you would have to have a credential in order to do that.
Hey, Libby, this is Rob Stylo. The under 1 million is a cutoff for a licensed appraiser. So 0 to 1 million transactional amount, licensed appraisers can do. Over 1 million, you need to be certified to do.
Which is how many hours? I'm sorry, Rob.
It's just once you're licensed or certified. So that the limit you were talking about on the $1 million was based on the level of licensure.
Right, but I can't do under 1 million in my current apprenticeship, I will call it. Is that correct?
Correct.
So once I become licensed, I could do 1 million or over 1 million. Is that correct?
Only unless you're credentialed as a certified residential or a certified general.
But either way, a minimum, I need to do 1,000 hours to get to the point of even doing something under 1 million.
So to gain the experience, you're going to either have to be mentored by a credentialed appraiser who can sign on those appraisals, or you're going to have to do PREA, or you can do different facets of the appraisal process, and those count as experience. But like driving to the subject property, that doesn't count as experience hours.
Yeah, that seems
Actually,
reasonable.
Analysis, like gathering data, that sort of stuff will get you the experience hours.
Yeah, could you explain more what the other experience hours would look like?
So Libby, how about I follow up with you in an email and I can basically give you that information as far as what the AQB requires? Would that work?
Yeah, I've already had this conversation with somebody at Dora, and I appreciate that. I'm just kind of trying to appeal and understand what my situation looks like because I feel like as a community, as real estate, yes, I think it has to have a high level of standards for appraisals, but it's such a barrier to entry. And in my community, it's such a needed thing. I have all this experience. I want to be able to contribute. And I'm looking at right now, it would take me 22 years to get my my hours.
Libby, this is Rob again, doesn't Paria use virtual hours to train? In other words, you're not hands-on with a mentor, but you have a mentor virtually. That's how I understood it. Now, I didn't research that all the way, but I
That-
understood it bypassed the mentorship.
That would be wonderful. I have not heard that from either Appraisal Institute or Dora, so I'm not sure. I just know I'm in the roster and they say 4 to 5 months. If that's the case, that would be really helpful. Now, I would assume that the subject properties would still need to be toured. That feels like an important part of doing an appraisal.
I believe it's largely virtual. And I mean, also keep in mind, Perea, if you complete one of the Perea programs and you are applying for a licensed credential, Perea is going to take care of all of your experience hours.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm sorry, there's nobody, I was trying to get clarification to how I proceed with this career. And that was, so Marcia, I would love to hear, follow up with you. That'd be wonderful. Let me know if you need my information. That was all my questions. I'm blessed to live in a very expensive place where, 1.6 million is average. So I was like, how do I even find a property under $1 million, things like that. So I appreciate your time, board, and I look forward to following up with you to figure this out.
One more thing, Libby, this is Clinton Taylor. I am the owner of a local appraisal management company here in Colorado and could have
Wonderful.
some potential assistance to offer, at least have that discussion. So that's something that we can follow up offline as well. And so I'll let you start with Marcia, and then if you want to reach out, that I could
I
potentially help
absolutely
you.
will. I've reached out to everyone I can think of. Thank you, Clinton.
Yeah, I have
that.
some appraisers in and around those areas that would be potentially helpful, and do me a favor and do me a solid and help me out. So we can
Awesome.
again have that conversation offline. But thank you for reaching out to the board and bringing your concerns to us. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, board. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Libby, just a minute. This is Brent Goff. I'm the assessor member. If you're interested in learning more about the certification track that we offer in the assessor offices, I'd be glad to chat with you. Just give me a call, 970-244-1713.
970-244-1713.
Yep.
All right, Brent, I will reach out to you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Board, we have one other individual that would like to make a comment. Rick Love, I have selected you. I see you just unmuted, so please go right ahead.
Rick Love, I'm down in Colorado Springs. I am currently going through Korea. I'm on my 8th assignment. So if Libby wants to get some more information on that program, I'm more than happy to help her out as well. Number she can reach me at is area code 719-641-2757. Then we can set up a way to communicate, and I can again give her as much information about the program that she wants, and that's basically it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Board members, I don't see any other hands at this time, so well, I can pass it back to you, Ms. Glassborn.
Thanks. Next, we'll move on to complaint matters.
So board members, complaint matter A is case number 2024. I think it's 1674 that appears to be a typo on your ESP referral. The complainant's allegations that the respondent lacked the requisite amount of experience to mentor trainees and that she did not inspect the subject did not have merit. However, when reviewing the report in the work file, there appeared to have been potential USPAP violations of the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, ethics rule, and multiple violations of standards rules 1 and 2, as well as board rules and state statutes. The respondent failed to adequately research, document, and analyze the neighborhood, market area, and the current market conditions. There was a lack of documented analysis for the adjustments and lack thereof in the sales comparison approach. The income approach was not considered despite 30% of the subject development being rented. There were insufficient summaries of analysis to support the opinions and conclusions made in the report. Finally, although the state of Colorado does not have experience requirements to supervise trainees, the assistant must be under the direct supervision. The respondent did not provide any other appraisal guidance or mentorship beyond performing an inspection. Potential violations are 12-10-613-1B, violation of Part 7 or a board rule. 12-10-613-1G, failed to comply with use BAP. Board rule 12.12, you have to have a copy displayed on your license. Scope of work rule, record keeping rule, ethics rule, and standards rules 1 and 2. Rob Walker is the investigator, and he's here to answer any questions that you have. Our recommendation for the board is that you impose coursework consisting of residential report writing and case studies, 15 or more hours, 7 hours or more of comparative analysis and or supporting adjustments, and also a class in appraising condo units.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the staff's recommendation?
I'll motion.
Darius, was that you?
That was, yes.
Okay, great. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
This Rob, I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Did you say that they're gonna have to take a condominium class?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Clint Taylor. She had a trainee, right? Help in this one.
Yes.
I think when I was watching the interview and in reading some of the documentation, it seemed like there was a little confusion as it associates to her ability to have a trainee, and it looked like it was a little gray in that area. Rob, can you kind of talk about that a little bit as that discussion kind of happened?
There's not a whole lot of requirements in there. It's basically you have to do direct supervision. It appeared that, well, the respondent actually lives in Arizona. So I don't know how much direct supervision there is. I did speak with the trainee. She was indicated that basically she was taught on one or two or three occasions how to measure, take photos. There is no training whatsoever on analysis, comp selection, kind of the meat and bones of the appraisal practice. It was more, inspection related.
Got it.
And she did say that when she did some inspections, they were in contact via the phone and things. So there was some supervision. It's just a kind of the huge gray area of, what direct supervision means.
Right. Marcia, is there a class or something that kind of goes over even on a I don't know, in a light way as to what a trainee or trainer of a trainee should be doing, if you will, or is that still part of the gray area that we're looking at? My concern in this is that she took on a trainee to help out, but it seemed like at certain times she was involved, and at other times it was very limited. And if you're a new appraiser like that of Libby trying to get into the industry, my concern is just an appraiser signing off on something without being directly engaged at the necessary level an appraiser should be if they're signing off on an appraisal report. So that's kind of where my head is going on that.
So I definitely think we could find her class and supervision.
Okay. That would be an additional recommendation that I would be interested in posing to the board to put onto the additional recommendations.
Hey, Clinton, this is Rob Spilo. There's not a training license in Colorado. Right. And you're, as an appraiser, lenders are allowed to use that hybrid product. So a non-licensed person can inspect and send you the results as long as you're doing a credible report. Now, some of us don't use that, but some lenders, banks, AMCs, and other appraisers use the hybrid where an unlicensed person does the inspection as long as it's a credible inspection and gives you all the information you need to do a credible report.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think where my mind is going is just making sure that the trainer, right, has additional information to assist, whether it's a template or something. But I was just curious if there was something that could potentially be out there to just additionally assist this person, so that she doesn't end up in a situation, where she is overlooking certain aspects of a report, or not necessarily assisting the trainee enough, to be looking for certain things too. And again, it's just something I'm throwing out there. But you're absolutely right, Rob. There is those hybrid appraisals, and I know exactly what you're talking about just from an AMC standpoint. So again, just throwing it out there.
Marcia, do we still have a supervisory appraiser course?
Well, the board specifically doesn't, but I'm sure we can find one because other states have those credentials. And so to be clear with the recommendation, we would just do this as a dismissal with education. Once she completes the education that you guys order, it'll be closed out as a dismissal, keeping in mind that she is training trainees.
Can you reread the education that was recommended?
So we recommended residential report writing and case studies. That's 15 hours, 7 hours or more of comparative analysis and supporting adjustments. A 3-hour class in appraising condo units. And then if you want to add the supervision class, I'm not really sure how many hours that is, but I will find one if you choose to add that.
Okay.
It's my recommendation, to put a motion to add that, depending on what the board decides.
So Clint, are you making a motion then?
I am making a
amend it?
motion to add that additional supervisory class if she's going to continue to train in that fashion. I feel like it would be imperative that she understands the rules that go behind that, or at least try.
Okay, I have a amended motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Darius.
Okay, thanks, Darius. I have a motion and a second. We can now take a vote. All of those in favor, say aye.
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 All of those opposed, say no. Okay, the motion passes.
So board members, for matter B, board member Taylor needs to recuse. So we will contact him once your discussion is over on this case.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and mute and turn off my video.
So with complaint matter B, this is case number 2024-1514. This is an investigation done by Rob Walker. The complainant alleged that the respondent used dissimilar comparable sales, failed to adequately make adjustments, and inaccurately reported site characteristics. In reviewing the report and the work file, there appear to have been potential USPAT violations of the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, ethics rule, and multiple violations of standards rules 1 and 2, as well as board rules and state statutes. The respondent failed to adequately research, document, and analyze the neighborhood, market area, and the current market conditions. The report did not contain the specific criteria used to determine a comparable property, nor was there sufficient commentary concerning the selection of the comparable sales, although it appeared that their sales price was the most significant factor due to the significant differences in location, site size, age, style, condition, gross living area, and amenities. There was insufficient support for the adjustments in the sales comparison approach. The respondent did provide some paired sales analysis as support, but most of the properties used for the analysis were not comparable to the subject and had inadequate documentation. The cost approach was developed, but it appeared to have been done to support the sales comparison approach rather than an independent approach to value. Finally, there were insufficient summaries of analysis to support the opinions and conclusions made in the report. Possible violations include 12-10-6131B, violation of Part 7 or a board rule, 12-10-6131G, failed to comply with USPAT, Board Rule 12.12, failing to put copy on the license, the scope of work rule, the record keeping rule, the ethics rule, and standards rules 1 and 2. We don't have a recommendation on this case because this is kind of unique compared to what we have normally seen in our complaints. So we're looking for guidance from the board, but Rob is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Hey, Rob Stylo here. This was one of those hybrids that I was speaking of, correct?
Right. That is
Okay.
correct.
And the complaint says that comparables 2 and 3 were not adjusted for the view, but because the subject was neutral. But when I read the report, the subject comparables 2 and 3 all had beneficial mountain views. Was it changed after, or was this a hiccup in the complaint? Because paragraph 2 of the complaint said the subject property had a neutral residential view according to the report. And I thought when I looked at the report, I made a note to say the view on the report says beneficial mountain, as does comps 2 and 3.
It was, the respondent did change the report from the initial report. So it's there were several changes made initially, but it appears that everything was made to kind of balance out the initial opinion of value and the adjusted sales prices.
Was there another report submitted, or the original report submitted, or because I also didn't see anywhere where it said they changed their report unless I missed it. I saw a clarification request, but it didn't speak of the beneficial being changed.
I don't believe there was, let me double check my file. I don't believe there was an original report submitted.
Okay.
I think this was the only version of the report. But let me double check. Yeah, I think this was the only version of the report that we received.
This is Zach. In my file, I have 2 different reports, an Exhibit 3 and an Exhibit 17.
Okay. Oh, then there were. I stand corrected.
Oh, I just saw the 17.
I do not know, however, what the differences are, but I can see if I can figure it out quick.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a couple of differences. I believe that there was, the view was changed, and then I think this a $25,000 adjustment was made on that, and then something else was taken away for $25,000. Let me, I think I highlighted it. So it actually was kind of a wash in the end.
Yeah, I can confirm. Yeah, so the one of them says that the subject is neutral residential, and the other one says the view is beneficial mountain.
And then on that same property, the initial report, I believe there was a condition adjustment, and on the revision, that $25,000 condition adjustment was taken off. So basically, the adjusted sales price remained the same, even though they changed a couple of different adjustments on the fee.
So although the report had some violations, if you look at the scope where the appraiser didn't inspect it, the view, that's a tough one, right? Because if the appraiser wasn't physically at the house, although on Google Maps you can see the view and stuff, but the appraiser didn't physically view it. Now I know there's other USPAP violations and stuff, but where does the fact that the appraiser didn't do the inspection come in? Because some things couldn't be held accountable, I wouldn't think, if I wasn't at the house physically and I didn't take in the view. You know, you can see a Google Maps view, but if you're not there, that portion of it, I don't believe is to be held responsible, the appraiser. The
Well,
errors and the use PAP definitely, right, but not the non-inspection part.
Yeah, I don't believe that it had anything to do with the inspection. What we generally want to make sure is we're just asking for the reasoning and support for the adjustment, and he didn't really have any.
Perfect.
You know, it was just basically they told him to change it. He changed it. It's like, you know, why'd you change it? Then, well, they told me to, and well, okay, great. You know, how did you come up with the $25,000 amount? He had, you know, and he had nothing.
No matter. Okay. Thanks.
Rob, this is Brent. I have a question for you on the URAR, the relating to the statement that there's 285 comparable sales ranging between $7,000 and up to 1,150,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is it common just to search the MLS and give a range that broad, or I mean, is $7,000 sale comparable? I mean, that's my question.
I would not think so. I mean, that's probably the neighborhood range, which is common, but we're just asking is like, how do you determine a comparable sale? I mean, kind of basic stuff here. You know, what criteria did you use to determine a comparable sale? We give people a wide range, you know, a lot of latitude as far as what you want to do. You just have to be able to tell us why you did it. You know, if he thinks that's comparable and he has a good reason behind it, we'll accept that. You know,
Okay.
it's just because it is his opinion, and we're allowing him to have his opinion. We just want to have support for reasoning and support for his opinion.
All right, thank you.
Brent, those numbers did match the top of the URAR under the neighborhood section, just the 1-unit housing. That matched the numbers that are in the comparable section, so it looks like it was less comparable, more just the entire neighborhood if you make a correlation of the above.
Okay. Thanks.
Do we know our options in this case in terms of discipline?
So you've got kind of a wide array of what you can do. I mean, there's the dismissal with subsequent education. So if you want to have him take classes and once he completes those, it gets dismissed. There's diversion stipulation where you can order education. You can fine him. Final agency order is the more formal discipline. Again, though, you can order classes, payment of a fine, work product review, supervision, all the way up to suspension, revocation. But typically what you guys do is kind of more of the remedial type of discipline, which is education. We were just kind of, I was at a quandary as far as making a recommendation because it really looked like he didn't do much with this report.
So an
And so that-
education and a review might be more appropriate.
It sounds
A
like
review meaning supervising, Rob, is that what you mean?
Or product review, yeah.
Okay,
You know, a
okay.
certain number, a couple reports, just to make sure he doesn't
Yeah, I agree.
make changes without, you know, just because somebody said make a change, and support your conclusions.
Yeah,
That
it sounds
type of-
like if this is what we've done in the past, is there a precedent for this kind of thing in terms of what we've done in the past?
So that was part of the reason that I didn't have a recommendation for you is like, I can't think of another case where you've had somebody that really, we don't have much support. There doesn't appear to be analysis. It's, so you, and regardless, even if we did have a similar case, you all are able to assess the facts and make a decision on what you think is applicable for this particular licensee. So if you think that education and work product review would adequately address the deficiencies, by all means, you can do that.
It's helpful. Thank you. Rob, what was your recommendation?
I don't have a recommendation. Basically, I'm just trying to be a neutral party and the fact, putting the facts out as much as possible.
Thank you. I was talking to the other Rob.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think a support your adjustment and prove your support education. I forget what the classes were that we recommended on the last time we had someone not complete their full paired sales, how to support your adjustments, and then have a product review. But I think the education is the important more than
In
the
terms
product.
of work product review,
Probably limited 3 or 6, whatever the minimum is, one after the education was completed.
okay. And so the work product review needing to have been done after the completion of the education and then within a certain time frame, you think? A couple
Sure.
of months after? Is that
Yeah, what, 6 months, a year, whatever. Just what is there a minimum, Marcia? Product review?
There isn't. So what you've done in the past is, and this is a common class that you require people to take, supporting adjustments and comparative analysis. That's kind of grouped together. And then you could do a sales comparison approach class as well. And then, I mean, you've got a lot of leeway as far as how many work product reviews you want done. So if you want 3 to 5 done, you definitely can order that.
I think both of those classes, and then, like I said, minimum 3 to 5 in 6 months after the completion of the class should show improvement or let you know, right?
Yeah.
So I'll let Penny know a minimum of 3 appraisals for work product review. And then if there's issues with those 3, we can look at expanding it to 5 to see if the additional 2 address any deficiencies. Does that work?
Yeah,
That
does the
sounds
product review get reported back to the board somehow? Or you let you know that, hey, it was successful?
So the appraiser doing the work product review will report back to the division any deficiencies that were found, efforts to correct that.
Okay,
And so if
perfect.
there's an issue with those 3, we can expand it up to 5 before it comes back to you guys if nothing has improved in that time.
Perfect.
what are the options for the appraiser in terms of who reviews the appraisals? And is that assigned or?
So typically they need to find somebody out there in the industry to do the work product review. The limitations that we normally try to put on there is that they not have family members do it.
Right.
Worst case scenario, if they can't find somebody to do it, we can look at doing it in-house, but we try not to go that route.
Okay. Rob, did you want to make a motion then, or is there any
I have
other
another
input?
question. I'm sorry, Daisy, I have another question.
Oh, go ahead.
Marcia, was there previous board action on this individual?
Let me look.
I think there was. He had a stipulation for diversion back in looks like 2016.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 2.
Yeah, then there was also a continuing education audit issue back in 2016. That was use bad violations, ethics rule, record keeping rule, competency rules, scope of work rule, standard rules 1 and 2, as well as some state statutes.
Okay,
He had 4 work product reviews at that point. That's like
Okay.
He did? He did or didn't?
He
Sorry.
did. That was part of
Okay.
the disciplinary action, fine, education, and work product reviews.
well, given that, I think that we should probably add a fine to the punishment because this
I
is the
agree.
third time.
Yeah.
So $1,000 fine.
Well, great question, Brent, and I think I totally agree.
And do you want to do a stipulation for diversion with this? That's the one where when he completes the different facets, like the education, the experience reviews, and payment of the fine, it says the language in the stipulation says it's dismissed at that point, but the stipulation itself is still public record.
Yeah.
And that'll be his 3rd stipulation since 16, is that right?
Correct.
Okay,
And the only other option is, I suppose it's dismissal after the stipulation.
So the other option is a final agency order, and it is not dismissed after completion of those terms. And that is one where we upload it onto our website so that if the public searches his name, that document will appear when they search.
Historically, is this the, after 3 offenses, has that in the past typically resulted in final agency order?
kind of like 3 strikes, you're out.
I don't think the board has set like a limit where, okay, you've had 3
Right.
bites of the apple and now it's going down this road. I think you guys have just kind of basically looked at the circumstances and made a decision based on that. But also factoring it, like if this was something where I think you do things differently if it's this is his 3rd case in 8 years versus somebody that's had more complaints within the same amount of time, particularly if it's demonstrating that it's the same issue over and over again and education isn't fixing it, work product review hasn't fixed it, supervision hasn't fixed it. That's when I've seen you guys kind of modify the discipline to be more punitive at that
Okay.
point.
Rob, did he understand what you were looking for in terms of support? Did he kind of follow, hey, I didn't have my support?
Oh yeah, well he provided nothing, and then basically, you know, well I take that back. He did provide some sales analysis, but it looked like I mean his sales analysis for his bathroom adjustment were from mobile homes, so it was not great, and I think he knew that, you know, he had something, but
Okay,
In
So
terms
then
of fines, is the,
his last
I
fine was
suppose
$1,500 is what their investigative report said.
so what is our limit in terms of fines, Marcia?
So I believe you can go up to $2,500 per violation. I think that's what we changed your statutes to the last sunset review. With all of the violations, $1,000 is well within reason, and if you want to increase that, you do have some bandwidth to do that.
Okay, so the $1,000 was per violation. Okay, that makes more sense. Is there any other discussion? Does anyone want to make a motion to?
This is Rob. I motion to add the classes we spoke about, the $1,000 fine and work product review of 3 to 5 and 6 months after completion of the education.
And it's a stipulation for diversion, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And also just to be clear, you're motioning for $1,000 fine total, not per violation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Brent Goff. I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We can take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those in favor say no. The motion passes. Let's see, we need to go to, there's no licensing matters or ESP. We'll move to Attorney General matters.
And Doreen is working on getting board member Taylor back.
Okay,
And then yeah, once Taylor's back, we can move to go into executive session.
okay.
Hello, I'm back, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. This is Daisy Glassburn. It is November 7th, 2024, and the time is 9:46. This is a meeting of the Colorado Board of Real Estate Appraisers. I move that the board enter executive session pursuant to section 24-6402-3A2 of the Colorado Revised Statutes to receive legal advice on specific legal questions. Let's see. Do I have a second on the motion?
I second Rob Stylo.
And just to be clear, the two matters are an update on House Bill 24-1004 and then complaint number 2024-430.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's see, do we need to take a vote or is that the extent of that?
Yeah, so it was seconded. So now we just
Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, we will now move to executive session. The time is 10:27 and the board is now back in open session. Zach, can you summarize the complaint update for us?
Sure. So the facts going into the complaint update is 2024-430. This was about a respondent who had the board had initially voted to impose a stipulation for diversion, $500 fine, and 26 hours of coursework. After the matter was voted on by the board, the respondent began contacting witnesses. He stated that he disagreed with multiple statements the witnesses had made to investigators. He told them he thought they had acted unethically. He filed a complaint against one of them. He requested that they correct their statements, cooperate with the investigation, both state and there may be a federal investigation going on, pay any fines that he was awarded, and then also pay for his continuing education. He also submitted a proposed letter recanting statements by the witnesses to the witnesses. He characterized their statements to investigators as false, as manipulated. He told a witness that their failure to address these misrepresentations risks damaging your professional reputation and that of your employing broker. And he also stated that the potential long-term consequences of this situation should not be underestimated. He also threatened to sue the witnesses. He said if they did not recant their statements, it would result in an immediate escalation, including but not limited to a formal complaint to Dora, which he made, and a possible lawsuit for damages caused by your actions. And he once again told the witnesses that failure to comply, or the witness that failure to comply with his demands will have significant and lasting consequences for your career and credibility. Additionally, our office, me contacted the respondent to explain to him that he needed to contact me and me alone regarding this issue. And despite that, he sent 2 or 3 additional communications via different methods, depending on how you define those terms, to Dora personnel, and he did not direct his communications to me.
Zach, did you ever
Okay.
speak? This is Clint Taylor. Did you ever verbally speak with this gentleman over the telephone or anything like that? Just curious.
I don't believe I did.
I'm just curious in regards to his demeanor. He can be eloquent in his words, and I'm just curious if during those conversations, if you did have that conversation and you obviously stated it's not recommended to continue. We won't say battering, but we could say communicating or corresponding with the witnesses. Everything needs to come my way. I'm just curious on his responses, if there was any verbal understanding or if there seemed to be just trying to get an understanding for where this gentleman's mind is as it associates to that specifically outside of the report, as these continual methods of communication and how he's communicating outside of what we are talking about, which is the report itself, which wasn't too bad, but just the lack of professionalism and the ethics that go along with all that. It seems like he's taking it very far.
Yeah, I did not speak with him verbally that I have any record of, and I don't recall doing it. I did, however, email him. Let me see if I can find those emails real quick. So what I emailed him was I introduced myself. I told him who I represent. I asked him if he would let me know if he retained an attorney. And I said I attempted to call you, but it went straight to voicemail. So that is what I did. And then I noticed that I stated to him that we reviewed the case file, that he contacted at least one witness in a threatening and or harassing manner. We believe that may violate Colorado law, and that it could lead to additional violations in discipline. And I explained to him the fact-finding process of the administrative courts and that he has a very ample opportunity to state all of his issues with the investigation in a court of law, and that he could provide counter information to me, although I do already have the information he provided to our investigator. And then I said I'll act as your point of contact for any settlement discussions, so please don't contact. In that case, it was ESP further. And he sent me an email with attachments. He said he didn't intend to engage in threatening or harassing behavior. He takes those allegations seriously. I understand the importance of addressing inaccuracies through the appropriate administrative channels and have attached relevant documentation for you to consider. And he said, as requested, I will direct any future communication regarding settlement discussions to you. And then he made some more arguments about the issues that he thinks there are with the report. And then after that, he sent, again, multiple communications to our client, or to Dora instead of to me, despite stating he understood that.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that.
Zach, did he obtain counsel?
Not that
Attorney?
not that he's notified me.
And were the threats all to real estate professionals, or was there any public type threat or anything?
Yeah, it was particularly to the seller's broker.
Okay.
And then he sometimes communicated about the seller's broker with the seller's employing brokers. I have not analyzed how that was set up. There are two people who own the brokerage. I'm not sure which one is designated as the employing broker, but he communicated with both of them also about the seller's broker.
Okay.
I have another question. This is Clint Taylor. I don't know if Rob Walker's still on the call, but was there? I mean, after the investigation concluded and everything has been submitted, findings and report, the complaint matters and all that, was there further communication or anything that went towards Rob? Reason being is because obviously we're looking at how everything unfolded and how he's sending messages to Marcia, sending messages obviously to the witnesses and other brokers. And I was just curious if Rob, if you further heard from this gentleman.
I have not. The first thing I heard was when the seller's broker contacted me about the messages that and the letter that he provided her. So, and then I have not talked to him since.
Understood. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a motion regarding AG matter B?
I think we have to refer this back to the board for further investigation regarding some of the new stuff we've heard.
I second that motion. This is Clint Taylor.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Can we just
Is there any?
just to be totally clear, Rob said I think we should. Rob, can you just state that I make a motion to do that?
I make a motion to send complaint 2024-430 back to the board for further investigation.
Back to the division, right?
Division for further investigation.
This is Clint Taylor.
That's
and I
what was
second.
seconded. Okay.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, Daisy.
No, you're fine. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we will now take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, say no. Okay, the motion passes. It looks like there is nothing left on the agenda. Is that correct?
Correct.
But, okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
This is Brent Goff. I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
I have a okay, great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
board
everyone.
members.